On this week's on this week's episode, the ride is over for Westworld. No superhero films for Tarantino, and God of War has its Ragnarok. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all the great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, the Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Humanican Media, of course, everything going on at the Happy Hoarder. Go ahead and follow the Happy Hoarder today on Facebook to get the latest updates on when the Happy Hoarder goes live, because the Happy Hoarder's got some great deals for you to go ahead and pick up this holiday season. Plus, also as well, the famous book, Congratulations, You Suck. Go ahead and pick it up today, right there for you at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And if you can do all that, plus also the fact that we're the number one tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook, there's a absolute ton of hours available to you for watching pleasure right there for you in the tabletop RPG land right there on Facebook. Plus also as well, we are the best place to go for the latest news and trends of pop culture right there on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. So like that page to get the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every day. And if you do, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is our own God of War Ragnarok in and of himself at Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Of course, the Happy Hoarder, Humanic Media, the Super BS Gamescast, and of course his amazing book, Congratulations, You Suck. It is my good friend. It is Josh Culture Cosmos, aka Josh Peterson. What's up, man? Uh-oh. Looks like I lost him. My intro was so long, it unfortunately lost him on the connection. There you go. What's up, man? You're on mute, man.
Your volume disappeared, so I left and came back trying to hope I could hop back in before you asked me that question. But I'm good, man. How are you? There's a lot going on this week. I was actually meaning to ask you, I don't know if you and you guys covered on Thursday the Warner Brothers talking about all the franchise stuff. What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, as far as they're delving into,
More things, more Harry Potter movies. Like what was the consensus in that between you and Melinda?
well, we didn't actually touch on that part of it. We touched on the fact that they were hemorrhaging money along with Lionsgate, along with Paramount, along with the CW, along with all these other companies. They were hemorrhaging money. I know the new CEO at Warner Brothers Discovery, he is really focused on trying to push high end, low risk, more volume box office related products, like you said, more Lord of the Rings, and because they still have the rights to the Lord of the Rings movies, they still have the rights to Harry Potter. He wants to, despite the controversy with J.K. Rowling, it's actually he wants to go into more of the high-end box office returns because obviously they're hemorrhaging money right now at Warner Brothers Discovery, and this merger between them has really cost them a lot in regards to a lot of stuff, and we'll touch on that here in a sec with
But
with Westworld.
okay, yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm personally like I don't know what else they could do with Lord of the Rings. Like I'm having a hard time thinking about that unless diving into territory that has not been written. And then with Harry Potter, I'm always happy to see another Harry Potter movie. I granted I don't like the what do you call it, like the Fantastic Beast movies have not been that great, but same thing I said with the Amazon Prime series. Any excuse to go back to those worlds is it's good enough for me. But that's just assuming that they're not doing it just for the sake of doing it. And there's a good story to tell. I'm okay with it.
He is they well actually they are doing it. They would be doing it just to go ahead and do it just because they see a potential money there. They saw that Amazon they saw the series that had initially generated so much interest, and they're doing their thing. Who knows what Embracer's going to do, because they have the rights to the product too. So you're talking about Warner Brothers with the movies. You talk about Embracer that could be making movies,
Yeah,
and you're talking about Amazon that could be making a series for the next 4 to 5 years.
I'm confused on how that works. Like how Embracer Group has the rights to make movies, and so does Warner Brothers. Like that doesn't make sense to me. And like how does that work? Because traditionally, you can't have two film companies with the rights to the same movie.
Usually you can, but I guess what Warner Brothers has the rights to anything made in its own movies. So maybe that's the reason why they could still have that taken care of, as far as them able to go ahead and make a movie. So I don't know.
I suppose.
But we'll be seeing a lot more Lord of the Rings, it sounds like, plus also more Harry Potter. He wants to get the old gang all back together. And that's something we'll talk about with Daniel Radcliffe coming up here in a bit, because if they're going to get Harry Potter, they're going to get like a buffed out Harry Potter if you get a chance to see Weird at the Al Yankovic story. Because my God, he hit the weight room. I never thought Harry Potter could blow up like that. My God,
I have not
he was
seen the
jacked.
well, okay. I want to see it. I haven't had a chance to. It's out, right? It's on Hulu,
No, it's actually on
right?
Roku. Roku.
Your
If you,
volume's gone again.
here we go. It's actually on Roku. So we will be talking later in the episode about Weird, the Al Yankovic story. I'm going to go ahead and review it right here on the show as far as our thoughts on that. Plus, also as well, besides Weird, the Al Yankovic story, I'm going to go ahead and talk about or review as well Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. We're also going to be talking about God of War Ragnarok and the reception to that, because that comes out here this week. Also coming out this week is Call of Duty Warzone 2. Call of Duty Warzone 2, could that end up being bigger than the Call of Duty games? We'll talk about that. As far as Netflix is concerned, because Netflix has a lot of stuff that they just debuted over the course of the past few days. Manifest is the #1 television show right there on Netflix. But Blockbuster, how well is it doing, and is it worth your time? We'll talk about that. Plus Enola Holmes 2, mention that real quick. And then also as well, we're going to be talking about One Piece film and see Josh's thoughts on that as our anime expert. Plus also as well, she'll share some final thoughts on M7 Day. That's right. N7 Day for Mass Effect is today as we're recording this. So Josh, hopefully, and I will be able to share our thoughts on the back end of the show of some great memories that we have of Mass Effect. But first, my friend, wanted to go ahead and talk to you about the end of Westworld. It was announced along with all that stuff that the CEO was talking about as far as bigger, higher end stuff. He also wanted to touch on the fact that he didn't like television shows that were very costly that did not have great returns. And over the course of the 4 years, Westworld went from a show that they were hoping to bank on the end of what we saw with Game of Thrones, to something that unfortunately just became a nice little filler show with a high end cast, and unfortunately could not follow through, as it was announced that Westworld has been canceled for before season 5. Even though it had already been approved for season 5, it has been canceled, and all the actors are being paid for season 5. Your thoughts on Westworld, the end of it? It was something, again, that we thought was being promoted initially as a replacement for all those that wanted to go ahead and have something big, and just basically an event piece that they didn't have anymore with the end of Game of Thrones. Your thoughts on the end of Westworld?
It was unexpected. I was not, because I know they're trying to go up to season 5, and allegedly like that was going to be the end of the story. I have not watched the last season yet, so I don't really know how it ended. I know we talked about this before though with like it was the ending of season 3, I think. Like now that it's not technically Westworld anymore because she's out in the city and
Yeah.
they're away from that setting. And as we discussed that before, like it kind of was losing the appeal of what made it such an interesting show because it was basically turning into Terminator or the Animatrix or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know, like you think they would have at least allowed them to complete the story of the 5th season, but the fact that they're paying the cast still and not making it makes me wonder, it's like how massively expensive that show was to make.
It was. It did earn dozens of Emmy nominations and also earned quite a few Emmy awards. But unfortunately, that does not mean it's a guarantee to go ahead and continue. And we saw that because, like you said, it must have cost a lot to get that show up and running each and every time out. Its sheer scale and scope was on the size of almost many movies that are made or currently constructed. And if it did not get the same kind of viewing returns, because I know I dropped off after season one, saw a little bit of season two, but I kind of actually dropped off after there. And I know a lot of people after that major season one ending, which kind of, I don't know, confused and seemingly just disappointed people left and right. It kind of seemed like it was going out from there. So Westworld is something I think that will go down in history as, even though it was technically a very good series. Again, it earned dozens of Emmy nominations. I think that it will go down as an ultimate disappointment for HBO Max, Discovery, HBO, because of the fact that it was supposed to have been the weekly event replacement for Game of Thrones, and unfortunately did not fail to meet those expectations.
Yeah, and it's just it's sad because like we don't have a lot of good sci-fi out there. And granted, the show was not at a point where it was that great, but again, we don't have a lot of good sci-fi. Like Wolves, that Ridley Scott show, those Wolves something or other with what's his name from Vikings. Like that show got canceled too, and
Raised by Wolves.
Raised by Wolves, that's what I'm thinking about, but that got canceled. Now what's left? I was sitting in class the other day, and I assigned a science fiction book report to my students, and nobody knew any good sci-fi stuff that to read or what they wanted to read because it's true, like there just is not a lot of very good highlighted science fiction properties out there anymore.
No, there isn't, and that's a shame for everyone out there because I kind of like sci-fi. I prefer sci-fi more than any other genre. Personally, is my taste to it. I mean, we are seeing a little bit of sci-fi with Disney, of course, with Andor, but that's in the Star Wars realm. I think that's a little bit of an easy reach for them. It's done very well for them so far, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, for Westworld and HBO Max and Discovery, it's a kind of a disappointing thing to see them unfortunately not being able to reach those heights with Westworld that they had planned on doing because again, it was supposed to be the replacement for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just it. And this is a perfect example though of everyone saying like, "Hey, streaming where it's at now." Not even like these big shows that people love on streaming properties are safe, as we've seen with shows on Netflix time and time again.
Well, we are going to see a major shift, and we knew we were going to. We knew we were going to go ahead and see a major shift in the streaming industry once the audience saturized. Once the audience got to a point where it's not going to grow as fast as it once did, we're probably going to see something take effect. And it looks like there's going to be some content that maybe people like, maybe people are interested in, that are not going to be continued simply because of the fact that there's going to be some cost cutting measures. I did mention again when it comes to HBO Discovery, when it comes to Universal, Paramount, when it comes to CW, when it comes to a lot of these TV and streaming ventures, it looks like again there's going to be a lot of these shows that we'd like, and we see if they're too costly and don't get the numbers, they're going to be on the way out.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I don't know. That's tough, man. It's tough to say that like, oh, I'm gonna justify the cost is because I want to watch a show and then that show ends. It's a weird landscape, it just goes to show that something has to be massively successful, like Game of Thrones. But then, are they shooting themselves in the foot by constantly setting the bar high for everything that comes out?
What are your thoughts out there on the end of Westworld? The ride is now over for Westworld. Did you want to go ahead and see it for another season, season 5, so you could get a full and a complete ending on it? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's much more to talk about on today's program. Wanted to go ahead and get your thoughts on this. Right now on Netflix, of course, Manifest season 4, the final season, is doing extremely well. It's the number one show on Netflix. Everybody seems to be happy with what's going on there. But wanted to go ahead and touch on some things that I wanted to go ahead and talk about that's also kind of trending in one sense, and another, it's not really doing as well as I think a lot of people had hoped when it comes to Netflix. And I want to say that did get a chance to see Blockbuster, which you are a very big fan of Blockbuster and Blockbuster Video. You know that
The the place, not the show.
yes, not the show, but the show did come out that's loosely based, very, very loosely based on the last Blockbuster that's still available, even though the last Blockbuster is in Oregon. This show bases it in Michigan. And I did get to see, a lot of the first 10 episodes and get to complete the first season. And I will say I'm disappointed because the fact that it does have a pretty good cast. It does remind me, as far as artistically and stylistically, like Superstore, and we do have some of the people that are behind Superstore that were behind the show. But unfortunately, the jokes fall flat. The I guess dialogue just seems to me too rushed at times, and it's just not very well written. And unfortunately for Randall Park and everybody associated with Blockbuster, it ends up not being a very good show.
Yeah, so I heard that they're trying really hard to be funny, and some of the jokes end up falling flat, and then the emotional stuff they want you to feel in that doesn't quite hit the spot because it just the rest of the show seems very poorly put together. I honestly like I there this was not something I was interested in. Like I would never have said like, "Oh, hey, I would love to see a show that takes place in an old blockbuster." I don't need that. I think that that documentary that's there is enough for me. So I'm really curious, like, what the thinking was behind. It's like this is an absolute nostalgia cash grab, if I've ever seen anything like that.
Actually, my friend, this is a vanity project for Netflix. This is something that where they said, you know what, we won, Blockbuster lost. Blockbuster had every chance to buy us and didn't. And they lost, we won, so we can go ahead and rub it in her face. That's all it is.
So
That's
they're
all it is.
murdering Blockbuster twice.
Yes, pretty much, essentially. And as I mentioned on the Thursday show or Friday show, as everybody hears it, I think that my thought on creating a Blockbuster show would have been actually behind the scenes or corporate or just the rise and fall of Blockbuster. Something in that realm would have been
Like
so
a
much more captivating and
like
interesting
a
than seeing something like this.
docu-series. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get you.
or even just a drama series that shows the rise and fall of it, but the heights of the height and everything's great, and all of a sudden they make these dumb moves one after another, and then you can see the fall from there. That would have been much more interesting to
Oh,
me.
for sure, absolutely. I just like I a sitcom that takes place in a blockbuster is just not something that I feel like I was really clamoring for. So I as soon as I heard about it, I did not have any hope that it would be that good.
No, no, it's not that good at all, and it's a shame. And I'm just sad to see that because Blockbuster, I think, for all the years it was out, yes, they did make a whole bunch of dumb moves. I thought it deserved better. I thought it deserved a lot better.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and this is if anything, this is actually kind of insulting to the legacy of Blockbuster.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they do get what they deserve in regards to that because they did have the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they scoffed at them. And this is Netflix's. I think it's just a sign of revenge. Again, I think this is just like having a vanity plate on the back of your car that says "You lost, I won."
Yeah, to be fair though, I mean, back in the 90s, if you would have said that to me, like, "Oh, hey, you could people are gonna be streaming movies in the future. No one's gonna be going to video stores." I would have thought you were crazy too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true indeed. But what are your thoughts out there on Blockbuster? I mean, I'm hoping to get a couple of my friends that are on the Monday's Demolition Force, the show that we do each and every Monday, covering the great tabletop RPG action there. Hoping I can get a couple of the guys behind Demolition Force who were Blockbuster store managers to hopefully catch the show and share their thoughts on it. So I'm hoping to get them in an upcoming episode to share their thoughts and some memories of Blockbuster as they saw it. So I'm hoping to get them on the air whenever possible. But what are your thoughts out there on Blockbuster, the series that's out on Netflix? It is not trending well when it's already in its first week and it's already down to number 7, as I saw last night on the top 10 TV shows list, getting destroyed by Manifest. So I see this as a one season deal. I see this as something that, okay, Netflix has had its fun, poked a lot of fun at Blockbuster, and then they're done. I think this is probably not going to last anymore after that.
Yeah, well, anything that's not solid coming out the gates, as we've seen with like Cowboy Bebop, Netflix tends to axe almost immediately. So I am predicting that within the next week we're going to hear a cancellation of the show.
I think it may take about a month before them just to get the results back and everything like that. But yeah, I agree. I don't see this happening very much longer for Blockbuster because yeah, if it didn't get off to a start where it was in the top 3 of the TV shows and staying there for at least a week or two, yeah, it just does. It's not a good sign because Manifest is destroying it right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know, like let's hope for better blockbuster content to be made in the future, something that is true to the legacy of the store and the memories of the people who went there.
But again, even if for me, if that was the case, a tell-all or like a even a Hollywood reimagining of the rise and fall of Blockbuster, that would have been much better for me. I'm hoping for that. That would be more compelling television to me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But also, like, I'd be okay with more sitcoms that take place in that era, like, or movies even that visited Blockbuster.
Captain Marvel.
Just yeah, well, yeah, but you didn't actually get to go inside. You didn't actually get to talk about like, oh, buying candy and looking at movies. Like, I would love more odes to Blockbuster in modern content.
That's true. The only other thing I wanted to mention right now on Netflix, because again, Manifest is killing it right now, is Enola Holmes 2, the Millie Bobby Brown Henry Cavill, where Henry Cavill plays Sherlock Holmes, Millie Bobby Brown plays the title character, solving another mystery. It's not getting quite the same critical reception, but it's still trending well on Netflix. I mean, right now, Millie Bobby Brown is positioning herself coming out of the end of Stranger Things, which we will see the end of Stranger Things coming up here next year, most likely, as an individual who will probably be reaching a very heightened star, possibly even superstar status. Your thoughts on Enola Holmes 2 and how it's trending on Netflix?
I was not expecting this movie to be good. I mean, I didn't think the last one was great, but it was a good popcorn flick, and that's kind of what I was hoping out of this one. So I'm not gonna make any predictions about it because I kind of just want to go into it and enjoy it for what it was. Did you like the last one?
It was all right. It was formulaic, but it was all right.
Yeah, it was fun. That's what I'll say. Like it was a fun movie, but it was not something I'd like go and recommend to people. I wouldn't say like, oh, definitely top five films, of the year. It was not that, but it was something to turn on. Much in the vein of what was that Ryan Reynolds movie with the little kid,
Oh, where he
Space
plays
movie or the
it's
time
it's
travel movie. What was that?
yeah, it's himself at the yeah, I know, but the Ryan Reynolds movie
I'm
where
sorry. It's like every time. like your volume keeps going out. The only time I can hear you again is by leaving and coming back. So I will be
It's
right
the connection. We are having connection issues. Something's going on with the bad connection today. I do apologize for that. Who's ever um, watching us, so I do apologize for that. Yeah, it looks like something's going on with Restream today. I apologize for that, man. But we'll try and get it out. We'll try and get it out. It is the Atom Project.
The
To let
Atom
you
Project. Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at Enola Holmes and The Atom Project in the same vein. Like neither of those movies were great, but they were fun. You know, like they were worth the $8 or whatever, 8, 12, 50, whatever, however much Netflix was back then, money that I paid to have the service for that month.
Yeah, well, there you go. But right now, when it comes to Enola Holmes 2, with Millie Bobby Brown, it's just something that, again, she is lining herself up to do a lot of good things or a lot of big things come the end of Stranger Things.
She's gonna be huge. Like she's gonna be the name on everybody's lips when it comes to Hollywood. I can totally see it.
What are your thoughts out there on Superstore and, excuse me, what are your thoughts out there on Blockbuster and Enola Holmes 2? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we hit the break, Call of Duty Warzone 2 is coming out this week, and it is something that is played by a lot of people as a free-to-play game that's set in the Call of Duty universe, and it's something I think a lot of people still enjoy. I know it's garnering big money for Activision Blizzard, but your thoughts on this, my friend? I think it's something that where, yes, it is going to do extremely well. Could it eventually take over the yearly? Well, it's not going to be yearly because next year they don't have another edition coming out. It's going to be 2 years, but normally yearly edition that comes out for Call of Duty could it eventually replace that experience?
That's a good question. I don't. I think that the Call of Duty is a franchise that, much like Assassin's Creed, becomes overconfident in itself. Uh,
Hmm.
maybe they will take a year off, but I think that once that year off happens, then they're going to go back to annual reviews because, or not reviews, releases because they like that money. And I have heard, I mean, to be fair, like I have heard that this one is really good. And I was out at GameStop yesterday putting in a pre-order for God of War, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. And there's a pretty big line of people inside GameStop going to pick up their pre-order. So there must be something to it. And if it's even like the campaign praise from Brian on the Super BS Gamescast, like it must have something to it that is good. Whether or not I'll get around to playing it, I don't know. But apparently, there's still a lot of life left in the old Call of Duty engine.
Well, according to the numbers that the PlayStation Store, the official PlayStation Twitter account released, that it blew up the PlayStation Store like no other Call of Duty game before it. And that's saying something since Call of Duty is annually the number one game that's out there. That's amazing that it is achieving that kind of success. So you can imagine on Xbox and PC, it's doing very well as well. But I think that with Warzone, as the numbers over the course of a year could decline in whatever annual release there is, you have Warzone rising and trending because Warzone seems to be something that, again, is a nice guilty pleasure and an easy fix as a free to play game for people out there.
Yeah, and okay, so I was actually reading. I don't know if you can confirm this, but people are buying like physical copies. There's not anything in the or not anything in the case.
Are you talking about? You're talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, is that what I'm talking? Okay, yeah, sorry, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not. I
Yeah,
don't
Call
know.
of Duty Warzone is just
What
an
is
online
Warzone then?
free to play game. Call of Duty Warzone is free to play. Sorry to keep you on the line there. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. We're going to have a little issue here. Still having that issue, but Call of Duty Warzone is the actual free to play online game. When it comes to what was in the box, that essentially is not or doesn't have much in it because the game actually it forces you to download a ton, well, not a ton, but download quite a bit from even the disc version asks you to download quite a bit. It doesn't have really much in it outside of just an empty disk, seemingly, because you still have to download quite a bit for the Modern Warfare 2 game. For the Call of Duty Warzone, that's free to play
It's
online.
okay. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about player, I just not. I don't really. You know how I feel about Call of Duty multiplayer, but um, yeah, if people are still going to it, like I said, I think that we have so many first person shooters coming out that it's a very competitive arena, I guess I would say. And Call of Duty obviously like has the favor of people, and this is like it's like Call of Duty and Madden. These are the one games that people go out to buy every year. So there's obviously something to it, and they have a dedicated fan base. So they could honestly fall flat on heads and probably still be okay.
Well, I think this is going to do great numbers again. I mean, people are really into Call of Duty back to back. We've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 killing it right now as far as on consoles and PC. And then now on top of it, for those who didn't want to buy it or who have bought it and are already going through the game and already gone through the campaign and all that, and they want an even deeper Call of Duty experience, Call of Duty Warzone with its own style of the Call of Duty machine is now coming out this week as Call of Duty Warzone 2. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that as far as seeing the kind of response. It's going to do big numbers for Activision Blizzard, but if you have thoughts out there on Call of Duty Warzone 2, as it's being named, that's coming out this week, the free to play, microtransaction heavy Call of Duty experience that a lot of people are enjoying. I know that I've talked to Jamie Monroy of Game Source, who's a big fan of Call of Duty Warzone and actually streams it very much so a lot on his Twitch channel. I mean, a lot. It's still very popular. It's actually something that maybe will trend towards the future a little bit stronger than the actual physical year by year games, but we'll see. But what are your thoughts out there on Call of Duty Warzone 2 as it hits the, I guess it becomes available for gamers out there this week? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, we've actually braved through half of the show and had our little technical gremlins throughout, but we're still fighting through it here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Your thoughts, my friend, on the game that everybody is talking about that's coming out this week, and that is God of War Ragnarok. You said you got a pre order in for it. The reviews are amazing, tens across the place. It's got a Metacritic score right now of 94 as I last look. Your thoughts on the experience of God of War Ragnarok, and it could end up being even a better experience than the very highly rated God of War reboot.
Yeah, I mean the continuous tens, like this was the first game that was given a 10 by a lot of different outlets, and like I played it and I was like, okay, I can see why. I will say that IGN makes me so angry because like I went on to social media and like there's a difference between posting an article that's hey, check out our review out of war and then posting a whole flipping video of the first like 20 minutes of God of War. Like who does that? That's almost well, let me ask you this. Do you think that that is almost worse than spoiling a movie?
That's I know something at least so far as not spoiling a movie per se. I think spoiling a movie is a little bit worse, but I think that when it comes to what we're seeing with God of War showing off the first 20 minutes, it's not as bad to me as spoiling movie, but
Because it
because
basically is a
there's
movie, though.
well, I mean, it's the game is 25 to 30 hours long. So, in essence, if it's showing you only the first 20 minutes, is it truly that bad?
I don't know. It just like it aggravates me because like to me, some of the most powerful things in the last God of War happened within the first like 10 minutes because you really get a feel of where the characters are at in this like heartbreaking tale of Atreus losing his mom and Kratos trying to figure out how to be a father and a feeling that that was going to be like the opening stuff in God of War Rack is we're going to get to catch up with see where they were at, see how they're feeling towards each other. And then IGN just like auto plays the first 20 minutes of the game on social media. It's irritating.
It is irritating. I can imagine that, but I know a lot of people were wanting to take a look, and that gets them hits. And in the essence, that gets them hits, that gets them looks, that gets them likes, that gets them noticed, that gets them out there. And Sony gives them, the allowance to go ahead and do that because it gives everybody a taste of what to expect and what to look forward to. I got a chance to see the review. They gave it a 10. Again, it's earning tens all over the place, and it's got a 94 overall. You can't argue with the success what's coming for God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, this is I'm really excited to play this game. It's probably one of the few games that I will sit down and play from start to finish all year. So, uh, I love the last one. I played it probably 3 or 4 times, and I cannot wait to dive into this one.
Well, when it comes to the story, what are you hoping to get out of it? As far as the story evolving for Kratos, and obviously he's got his son right there alongside of him. He's got help along the way and characters right and left. They're very integral to the story. Some new, some from the last game. Where are you looking to go with this character, or what are you hoping to get as far as the story being told?
You know what's funny is the last God of War game, as far as, story and character development, that the last God of War game was the first God of War game in, like, what, 7, 8 games that actually developed Kratos as a character. Like, before, he just grunted and he ripped people into pieces. In this game, he's actually a person, and I was actually emotionally invested in his story. Going into this one, there's still a lot more happen because he just figured out, like, or not figured out, but he's learning how to be a father. His son is young. In this one, his son is going into his teenage years, and not teenage years, but the son's growing. Being a parent is not an easy thing. There's always it's an evolution, right? Because both the parent and the child are evolving over the course of time, and you're much like Kratos, he's learning how to be a father, and he's kind of figuring it out as he goes, and that's kind of the story of parenting. And I think there's a lot of character development to happen in that point, just like Atreus is learning how to essentially be a son to his father. Like, he's learning, his mom is gone, and now he's trying to figure out, like, how to cultivate this relationship with his dad and what he's supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, just it's supposed to be on a family sense, and like you said, the bonding relationship between father and son. That connection, which you saw in the first rebooted game, is something that was a special part, and hopefully they can continue that. I'm also looking forward to seeing how it's going to evolve because it's going to lead into a trilogy because of how successful this game looks like it's going to set up us up.
So he had just actually said, I thought it was going to be a trilogy too, but then Cory Barlog had said, we're not going to make people wait 10 years for the end of this game, the end of this story. So they're actually ending the Norse saga in 2 games. But also, like, if you remember in the last God of War, I don't know if you played it or not, but he opens this big panel, and inside of it, and this is when they're looking for, I think, to the giant tier, or the tier, I think his name was, but they find this giant panel, and it shows how all these pantheons of gods are connected to each other. He's apparently Odin is trying to figure out how to break into other worlds, I guess. And have a feeling that at the end of Ragnarok, we're going to see, like, what's next. Where is Kratos going next? Because eventually, this is all going to come full circle.
Well, I want to ask you this, and then we'll go ahead and share some final thoughts on the game. But I can't have a feeling this is setting itself up for one of the biggest games of the year. This is setting itself up for a game that's going to go ahead and really do some big numbers for PlayStation. It's going to be a big hit, no question about it. I mean, you've got the critical acclaim. You're going to start seeing the commercials with all the different, entities giving it 5 stars, giving it tens. You're going to see all that coming up here, and it's going to get a lot of interest as a holiday gift, and it's going to be a big hit this holiday season. But there is no way that Sony is going to lead the God of War franchise alone after this game.
Oh no, absolutely not. Just like we predicted, right, that they're not going to leave Uncharted alone, and now, lo and behold, there are a bunch of whispers going around about something happening in the Uncharted universe. So, no, and honestly, with God of War, they should not. Uncharted is different. Like it's more of an exploration game, and there's not really. They did a good job of developing their characters, but it doesn't hit you on the emotional level that God of War does. And this is people are actually like there's a lot of people who haven't even played the Greek God of War games. They just jumped into this one. So I think there's still so much character and story to be mined, but also like a butt ton of money because that game sold and sold and sold.
It did, but I think that there is going to be a big future for what we're going to see with this version of God of War. I think that this will be one of the biggest games of the year behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And I think that when all is said and done, the God of War universe is just getting started. I think that the success of this game and its previous outing, I think, is just lend itself to being one of the pillar franchises for Sony going forward.
Yeah, and it's yeah, it definitely is. And it's something that doesn't just feel like a money grab. It feels like it actually resonates with people, and I think that's a rare thing to have in a AAA video game.
Yeah, it is a rare thing to have in a AAA video game, but I think it's also something where, you have one of the main reasons why Sony is still preferred by gamers over the Xbox, even though the Xbox to me is a better value. The Xbox Games Pass is a better value than what PlayStation offers with the PlayStation Plus. When it comes to the first party games, the amount and the quality by Xbox, they've just not been able to match. And when Sony comes out with something like this, it just lends itself to those who support the PlayStation that argument even more.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And this is it does keep fueling the old rivalry there.
Absolutely. Well, again, people wonder why that even after the Activision Blizzard acquisition, why people should be interested in keeping a PlayStation. Well, you know what? Keeping and buying a PlayStation is still of great interest as long as you have games coming out like God of War Ragnarok, which is going to come out this week and it's coming out to great acclaim. It's coming out with great interest, and I think as well it's going to be one of the biggest hits of the year for gamers out there in 2022.
Yeah, I agree. And this is I'm and if my gut tells me anything, it's going to be a game that much like the first God of War is going to be talked about for, several years to come.
And that's a big thing. That's a big thing right there for us. And I think that's something that it's going to be hard to go ahead and do another game in this universe. I mean, where you said this is going to maybe be the last game in this part of the God of War realm, but they got more God of Wars. They're going to have to in order to go ahead and continue this. Sony's going to want to continue this. Sony's going to want to continue this as far as in the God of War universe. So Sony's want to, Sony's going to go ahead and continue this in some form or fashion. I mean, even if this part of the stories is finished, they're still going to tell a lot more stories in the God of War universe.
Oh, absolutely. And whether the prophecy in the last game that they told was that like Kratos was going to die, and I don't know if they'll do that because that's a big yeah. But they also un you know laid the groundwork for many years of God of War games to come because there's so many pantheons of gods that are still left to explore, whether it's China, Japan, and Egypt, whatever whatever's out there. Like there's still a lot more to be taken from this universe, and it sounds like they eventually plan on bringing all these pantheons together for just like a massive war, and that is something that does intrigue me quite a bit.
It's going to be like God of War mass destruction or something like that. So it's going to be something.
Gods of War, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. Yep. It's going to be God of War. Oh, blank. Watch out now. So going to
Hmm.
be a lot of interesting things coming up in the God of War universe, but we definitely want to hear your thoughts on God of War Ragnarok as it releases this week to great acclaim. It's one of the most acclaimed video games of the year and possibly of all time because it's actually trending in that direction with one of the highest Metacritic, one of the highest Metacritic scores of all time for a video game at 94 right now. So we want to hear your thoughts on God of War Ragnarok and where it sits with you. Is it something you're going to get? Is it the major buy of the video game season? Is it something even more important to you than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or Call of Duty Warzone 2? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, appreciate you sticking out with me on a day where we're having a lot of technical issues, but truly appreciate you sticking out with us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Oh, of
Wanted to
course.
hear wanted to hear your thoughts on Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. I had a chance to see it on Disney Plus. They're about six shorts that I guess maybe if for those who are really involved or invested in the Star Wars lore, this is something I think that's for them. I'm not sure if it's for anyone else.
I've heard, yeah. I mean, I hear that they do some things right in the in the show, and it's something that people who have seen Star Wars and are have been following it for years will really enjoy. But outside of that, I haven't really heard much about. I've just heard about the connective tissue that they set down there, and not really anything outside of that. So, uh, yeah, is that you? Are you kind of feeling the same way?
I'm kind of feeling that for someone who hasn't had a vested interest in the prequels, that watched the prequels, didn't enjoy the prequels too much, that I after finishing the Tales of the Jedi, I really just didn't get much out of it because all it's doing is it's connecting the dots. It's as if okay, for those who watched the prequels and enjoyed the prequels, which not there are many of, but let's say that there are, this delves a little bit further as far as why Count Dooku went bad, or what happened to Master Yaddle, or what happened to Qui Gon, or what happened to Ben Kenobi, and Anakin, and all that. As far as Ahsoka as well, so, what happened after Order 666 for her, and excuse me, Order 66 for her, and I just it was stuff that if it never got made, it really would be of no loss to anybody out there. There's just a few people out there that are just interested in what happened deeper, or a deeper look into the prequels. It just, for someone who wants a deeper look in the prequels, I guess it's okay, but it's just something, it's because it's shot in the Clone War style. So it's Dave Filoni really right there laying his imprint on it. But yeah, I mean, if you were really interested, involved, and why or how the records on Camino got erased, and stuff like that, I guess that's for you. But if you're not, it's really just something that it's just there. It's just filler. It's just expanding a part of the Star Wars universe that not many people really needed to see or really wanted to see.
So it's kind of a like a fan service type thing, like the Barbasol can in Jurassic Park. Like you don't, it's not important to the overarching story, but are always like, oh hey, I wonder what happened to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it dots the I's and crosses the T's for much of the prequel universe. I guess is basically what I mean. If it maybe it'll make George Lucas happy, but again, the prequels were so much reviled, even though they were watched and they were observed by a lot of people and they earned a lot of money. They're still not exactly beloved by a lot of people out there, and it's just amazing that they want to go ahead and still Dave Filoni has such a love for the prequels that he wanted to expand that universe and devote a small series of shorts to it. It just seemed like it was not that necessary.
Yeah, or maybe they were desperate for content, or yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's funny to me because like Star Wars, no matter how much like useless stuff they put into that world, people still watch it.
Hmm.
So at this point, you can't really justify not creating more content.
Uh, I don't know. It just I mean, I wonder. I asked myself, why did I watch it? I mean, they're only like 6 to 8 minutes long. They're not that long. I mean, some of them are like 10 minutes long, but it's not that long of a watch. It's just the fact that I ask myself, why did I watch it? If I ask myself, why did I watch it? It's not that it's bad. It's
Yeah.
just that it's just that it
It doesn't need to be there.
yeah, it doesn't need to be there. I mean, okay, did I really think about, am I driving along the road and I think, I really wanted to know what happened to Master Yaddle from episode one. I really needed to. Hmm, what happened to her? I don't know. Hmm. Well, I
Yeah.
guess now we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's just a lot of T crossing and I dotting that maybe we didn't need. But yeah, if your thoughts out there on Tales of the Jedi and you're really big fan of it, please let us know why. Because again, for a lot of us out there that really didn't delve into or want to delve into much more of the prequel universe, I guess you get a better look at it. But if you have thoughts on Tales of the Jedi, please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, we're getting it out here on this episode, but before we head on out, as a anime expert, I wanted to hear your thoughts on One Piece Film Red, which I think is trending in the top five this weekend at the U.S. box office. Your thoughts on One Piece Red and what this might do for those that could be more interested in a whole bunch of more anime coming to theaters.
Okay, so oddly enough, I'm not actually very familiar with this show. I keep want I've had instances where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll check it out, but then someone was telling me that you'd have like watch episode a day 3 years before finally getting through the entire series, and I was like, oh, maybe I don't have time for that. But anyways, I did some research on this one, and it says that you don't actually have to follow the show to watch it. Like, yeah, it helps to know who the characters are, but it's not really connected. There's not a lot of great connective tissue for the rest of the series, so you can just go into it as like a casual fan and still come out pretty entertained. That being said, I have heard great things about it. I don't know if it's reaching Dragon Ball fame, but it's good. It's opening this door for more, more anime films to be coming into theaters and creating new fan bases. I mean, I was on Van's website last night and I saw that they're doing actually a One Piece shoe crossover. So it definitely anime is starting to leave a bigger cultural footprint, and I think that we're I don't know, quickly or slowly, but we're casually moving towards an era where we probably will get to see more Japanese, animation films in theaters. I loved as a kid to be able to go and watch, Princess Mononoke in a theater. Like that would have been cool to me. It's just not been something that's been called for until now. So that is something I am really excited about, and I do plan on checking out One Piece, and hopefully we'll, like I said, we'll be able to see more of this popping into theaters, and not just as like a 1 day event, but something that stays in theaters and and has a normal theatrical run.
But it's going to be something that, yeah, it finished, or it's going to finish number two at the box office. It only got $10 million on a weekend because the top movie at the theaters is Black Adam, and Black Adam is going to finish just under $20 million. So it's not exactly the strongest weekend. It all comes in anticipation of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. That's coming out next weekend. So this is a weekend with Black Adam leading a weak field, and then of course, like I said, with One Piece only getting $10 million. But like you said, it's the prospects of an anime film coming to theaters, having a theatrical run. In this case, it is having going to have a limited theatrical run. It's still going on. It's still got $10 million, and it's not the money that's getting to me as far as that. It's the fact that it did finish number two, but it's also the fact that, like you said, these anime movies are more and more appearing in theaters. We've already seen it already a couple times this year. I expect that more will happen to get these short bursts where people for between 10 and $20 million, it goes in there for theaters for a couple weeks, and then it goes right after that to streaming. So I have a feeling that, like you said, it's going to take a couple more of these projects to get a little bit more interest before we actually see anime really doing well at the box office.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look at like what is Dragon Ball Super at right now? What's the box office numbers? I'm trying to find it on this list here. Oh,
Well,
right,
I
$86 million. Like that's wow. Like that's definitely something you would never seen that happen. In years prior. So yeah, it's the door is being opened and people are walking through it for sure.
absolutely. I think that Demon Slayer, when that comes out, another version of that comes out in the theaters, I think that will also garner a great bit of interest because that's one of the most popular anime that's out there right now. I think that we'll be able to see a few more entities come out. I think if they ever decide to go ahead and remake Akira, or if they
Oh,
ever do a live action Akira, that will probably be of interest. I know One Piece is being developed by Netflix. I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to come to fruition, or if they, decided to maybe be against that or hedge against that after what happened with Cowboy Bebop. But I'm interested to see what kind of anime things that are going to be created on a either a mass streaming or a box office forefront going forward.
yeah, or what could be cool is a Cowboy Bebop movie too, because there's already a Cowboy Bebop movie. But if they made another movie, an anime style movie, and put it into theaters, oh my gosh, man, that gets me excited just thinking about it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the cancellation of the series did not help the Cowboy Bebop IP. I don't think that did any favors.
Yeah, definitely not. One Piece though is already at 136 million, so good for them.
Absolutely, making a lot of money overseas, and it's down, and it actually it's making a little bit of money here in the states. So we'll see the kind of crowd that these anime movies, when they get hit to the box office, will make. Plus the fact that they'll also do well in streaming going forward, or if they land on Crunchyroll or Hulu or Netflix going forward, who are the major homes for a lot of anime out there. So we'll see what happens, but what are your thoughts out there on One Piece film Red? Please let us know your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, we're almost out of here. These technical gremlins hopefully will be gone by the wayside here for next week. Hopefully, we can have a little bit better and more clarified conversation next week when we talk pop culture. But before we head on out, today is November 7th, the day that we're recording this. Hmm. In most annals, this is N7 Day. So I want to hear your thoughts if the world of N7 Day means Mass Effect Day for us. So Mass Effect N7, if you're really a gamer on the inside, you know that N7 is part of the actual lore of Mass Effect universe. I'm hoping for some news on Mass Effect. Hopefully we will get that by the end of the day, but your thoughts, my friend, on Mass Effect, its meaning to you over the years. You obviously, when you look at the studio here that I have, you see that Mass Effect has such a great influence in my life. But your thoughts on maybe an adventure that you enjoyed, or just a part of why Mass Effect is so important to you?
Mass Effect is one of those games. Like there are very few games that I describe as like feeling like home. Yeah, I remember like Halo's multiplayer maps, like they felt like home to me because I knew them so well and I spent so much time there. Final Fantasy 15, same thing. Mass Effect, the ship felt like home to me. Just it felt and turning on the Mass Effect tree and going back to it, I just like it felt like I had gone back home after being gone for so long. Um, I Mass Effect resonates with me so much because I spent so many years of my life playing it, and despite the fact that Andromeda wasn't that great, like I don't know, like I love being back in that universe, and I'm hopeful that they're going to make some announcements for what's next for Mass Effect because usually on Mass Effect Day there is some kind of tease or there's some kind of announcement or something to go kind of wet your whistle a little bit for what's in. So I'm hoping we'll get something like that here soon.
I'm hoping we will. I mean, nothing has been announced as of the time we're recording, but something's going to be done during the course of the day. Some type of announcement or some type of acknowledgement because BioWare, the creators of the Mass Effect universe, are going to be planning something. I am hoping We already know that Mass Effect 5 is on the way, or Mass Effect, the new generation, the new reboot, reimagining of Mass Effect, or the continuation of the series, whatever they're going to be doing in the Mass Effect as far as on the video game front. We all know that's on the way, and maybe we'll get a look at that today, but that's still at least a couple years out. I'm hoping that we get an announcement. We've talked about it before on this show, and we heard the rumors and we saw what was reported by Deadline months ago about Amazon possibly circling in on a Mass Effect series. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want to hear more news about. That's what I want to see is that somebody finally taking a great interest. Like you said, we talked about earlier with Westworld, that good sci fi is going away. This would probably reinvigorate the sci fi universe if it's done well, a Mass Effect TV series or movie.
That's right. I know Henry expressing interest in playing Commander Shepard, but I don't know if that's
Henry
gonna be.
Cavill, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that would definitely be great. Mass Effect would definitely be a better what do you call it? A better streaming show than a movie because it's something people definitely would want to keep going back to.
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. Something's coming up for Monday, and we'll be able for Mass Effect Day. Mass Effect is going to be uh, just awesome to hopefully hear some good news. But yeah, that comes up on Monday, and we'll report it on Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. But we're definitely looking forward to seeing what's upcoming in the Mass Effect universe, and hopefully we'll get a clue on that on Mass Effect Day. And if you're interested, please go ahead again and check us out Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook or Pop Culture Cosmos there, right there for you wherever you get your podcasts. We'll hopefully, if it's something big, we'll report it on the Friday show. But yes, what are your thoughts out there as we head into, as you listen to this Mass Effect Day, N7 Day, November 7th being Mass Effect Day? Please let us know your thoughts. If you have any great Mass Effect memories, for me, just be able to explore the Mass Effect universe in both Mass Effect 1 and 2, and then obviously I guess the game was really good in Mass Effect 3 up until the end. I know that the very end was very controversial. The endings had to be changed and altered, and because of the backlash and the uproar as far as how Mass Effect 3 ended. We know how it went Mass Effect Andromeda, how if you actually play it now, it's probably a decent game, but unfortunately there were so many problems with it and such a inferior experience compared to the other three Mass Effects. And I think that Mass Effect for me though has been a great experience, especially the first two. Mass Effect 2 is always thought of as one of the best video games of all time, and Mass Effect 1, just the feeling of you be able to save the galaxy and save the universe is just was a thrilling experience just to follow that whole lore. And the books, if you get a chance, a lot of the books are really good reading as well to delve into. But yeah, just been a great experience overall for Mass Effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cannot wait to go back to that world. And I hope that it brings new fans into it as well, much like God of War does. Kind of matures and then opens the door for people who might not have played the first three games.
So let me ask you this before we head on out, my friend. What does BioWare need to do because their last decade has not been as good as the decade before it with all their games, not including, what we've seen with Mass Effect Andromeda. What do they need to do to get back in the right frame of mind or in the right footing with gamers when it concerns Mass Effect?
I mean, they need to revisit what made the first three so special and stop keep talent keep their assets in the right place because a big issue with Andromeda was that they removed half the team to go work on a Star Wars game. Like if they're going to make a Mass Effect game, they need to make it and make it well. And EA needs to realize that it did clearly had the assets, moving them around really had an effect on the overall game. But most of all, they need to get back to storytelling. Like tell a story that people want to hear and people can resonate with. Don't just tell something for the sake of telling it. You need to make something, again, going back to the God of War thing, make something that matters to people.
Well, we'll see, my friend. The announcements will come hopefully tomorrow. Some type of announcement will come tomorrow in the Mass Effect universe. And I know you and I will be talking back and forth on it as far as DMs, and hopefully good things will be happening on it. But yes, November 7th, Mass Effect Day. I know that a lot of people will be gearing up for God of War and Call of Duty Warzone and all that good stuff. But let's take a moment in time to appreciate also some really good video game storytelling, not just for God of War or Call of Duty, but also Mass Effect as well. So hopefully we'll get a big announcement on November 7th. Hopefully by the time you hear this, you'll be able to already go ahead and check that out on the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page to see what the latest news and information, and also Game Source, where we cover video game news as well. Hopefully you'll be able to get a good look at seeing what the future of the Mass Effect universe is all about.
Yes, yeah. I mean, hopefully, like I said, hopefully we'll get some news here soon, and we'll be able to find out what's next for Mass Effect.
What are your thoughts out there on Mass Effect as November 7th, aka N7 Day, aka Mass Effect Day, hits this week? Please let us know your thoughts and experiences on Mass Effect and that awesome universe, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, with between all the glitches and the echoes and all the stuff that I have to deal with in post, which is going to be a nightmare for me, I do appreciate you getting through it, my friend. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
No, I mean, I know we talked about doing our Christmas list episode here coming up soon, so I'm excited about that.
Yes, holiday gift guides. We're going to be doing the first week of December as far as those episodes for both the PC Multiverse and Pop Culture Cosmos. Looking forward to creating some great holiday gift ideas for you guys out there, you guys and gals out there. Just looking forward to creating some great gift ideas for holiday gift guides for you. And then also as well, we're going to do a Black Friday episode that's coming up. You know, Black Friday is coming around the corner, so Black Friday episodes are on the way, plus some good things as well coming up for the holiday season. And you know, we've got the best of at the end of the year, the best of Josh in pop culture, the best of Gerald, and the best of Melinda in pop culture. So definitely looking forward to that as well. And of course, don't forget to catch us on the Friday show, the PC Multiverse. Looking forward to talking more pop culture coming up this week, right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Culture Cosmos, aka Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great